Hey everybody, my name is Ryan and I am the Draco Meteorologist. Um, you might see some videos previous to this one on my channel. I'm not going to take them down, of Pokemon Draft League, which is going to be the focus on this channel. But I wanted to put a little bit more effort and time into it as we move forward because this is one of my favorite things to do. What started out basically as just a little hobby to talk with some of my buddies on the weekend and play some Pokemon Draft ended up turning out to be one of my favorite pastimes, my number one competitive outlet. I still get nervous when I play draft matches against my friends, um, and it's just been a lot of fun. We've played now for 8 seasons in the N Battle Association. I will link that channel actually in the description below if you guys want to take a look. We've done low tier Terra with the Paldea decks. We've done just low tier in general in Paldea. Um, I know we've done Gen 1 through 4 Nat decks with Megas. Then we did Ubers. We most recently did Little Cup, and then also I believe we've done high tier Terra and Paldea decks. So we're in a little bit of a in-between spot right now. It looks like we might go to Nat decks low tier. If that does happen, I will be posting double the amount of videos because I would also like to post that team as well. But in this in-between time, I wanted to join another Pokemon League. So I really like Terra, with Scarlet Violet most likely going away with the release of Champions, hopefully early next year. Um, I wanted to do Terra one more time. So joined a random Discord, saw this Twinleaf Premier League, looked at the board. It was very similar to what I did the first couple of seasons of low tier Terra with Paldea decks. And which has been a couple of years. So I really wanted to retry it, retry that format, and it's something that I was semi familiar with, and I got to do Terra. So this is actually going to be not an open Terra, so you choose 3 different Terra types, but you don't tell your opponent which Terra type it is, so they have to guess on those 3. Compared to most recently, you've been seeing anybody, you can choose any Terra, just let them know ahead of time in the game. So going back to the basics, something that I started with a while ago. So I really like this board. Some things that I noticed right away was there was a couple of Ubers Pokemon that were typically banned in other draft leagues that I saw, such as Chien-Pao. Dragapult has been banned a lot more frequently. Same thing with Iron Valiant. And Spectrier were kind of the 4 that I saw. So I really wanted a higher draft pick. I've only ever played, well, I played both Spectrier and Chien-Pao actually in our Ubers League, and I liked both of them. I kind of wanted to draft them again, but obviously I had to get lucky with the draft position. So without further ado, let's see what my team ended up turning out. We got first pick. Crazy. I got to play Chien-Pao again. This was my MVP in Nat Dex Ubers. Absolutely wild to say, right? This guy can smack hard. And in regular land and not Uber's land, this thing, like, just looking at calcs, if I ever get an SD off, you just kind of lose the game unless you have a Mach Punch or Vacuum Wave, which a lot of Pokemon do have now. But anyways, this guy hits hard. You're gonna notice my nicknames here in the top left corner underneath the Pokemon's name. I'm a big League of Legends player. I've been playing that since season 2, which was 2012. 2012. So all of our Pokemon are going to be named after League of Legends references. Um, but yeah, Chien-Pao. I love his typing. Ice Dark is fantastic offensive typing. You've got hard-hitting stab moves. You have awesome setup move in Swords Dance. Great priority in Sucker Punch and Ice Shard. And you're just going to be a hard-hitting physical attacker. Your ability sort of basically ruins, haha, the opposing Pokemon's defenses, which allows it to hit even harder. Where that attack stat might seem like, yeah, it's good, but not like Uber's level. But the ability is really what puts it over the edge. A lot of the times you're going to see some sort of boosting item or heavy duty boots if I want a little bit more longevity. This thing has like okay-ish bulk too, right? Like for something that's so fast and hits so hard, like this thing can live a lot of hits that's not super effective or like a choice banded, choice specs type move. Um, So this Pokemon's gonna be so fun to use. I'm so excited to get to do it again against weaker Pokemon too. So it should be fun to see. Next on the list, so with being first pick, we had 16 teams in this league. So I had 30 picks to get through beforehand. I really wanted either a couple of things to support Chien-Pao. Obviously, does not like hazards, so I kind of wanted some sort of premier spinner or hazard remover, and I wanted something that could pivot, like hopefully a slow pivot to get into Chien-Pao, right? Take that hit and get in there. So some things that I was looking at was Quaquaval. I also liked ghost types like Petrant and Golden Go to kind of, nullify that quad weak fighting. So those were kind of the three that I was hoping for. Uh, they ended up all going, and Glow King was left, which I was super surprised about. And then he was picked right before me. So all of the picks that I wanted were gone. So at the wheel, what I ended up doing, I did want to get that premier pivot, defensive, fighting type resist Mon in Gliscor. This guy's is going to be cool, right? It's going to be a great defensive check for me. It can put up hazards. It can be offensive as well. You typically really only see this guy run the Toxic Orb Poison Heal from here on out. The Sword Stance sets seem to be a thing of the past, but that does not mean that he can't do it still. He's got great defensive bulk, a decent speed tier as well if I do want to run it offensive. Stab Earthquake is always great, and then just fantastic utility as well. You've got knockoff, you've got taunt, you've got all three sets of hazards. I did not put T spikes in the move set here, but a lot of the times you'll see this being that defensive centerpiece. So excited to use this Pokemon for the first time, and it's quad weak to ice. I try to nullify with these next couple of picks. Right, Chien-Pao technically resists ice, but like I'm not going to be switching Chien-Pao into a move where I feel like is going to slap me with ice. Maybe I could. Who knows? So our next pick here, I still did not get that hazard removal. Quack was gone, so I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and I went with Cinderace. This Pokemon I think I played in my first season ever. Um, I did not know how to play Pokemon Draft League at that point, so I didn't really even know what. I guarantee you, I did not bring Court Change once because I didn't realize what it did and how important hazards were. So this was going to be that premier hazard setter, right? Whenever I've played against a Cinderace, it was always something where it's like, do I even like want to put up hazards? It could just backfire on me. Cinderace comes in with heavy duty boots, as well as like Court Change, just puts it on the other side and boom, now my rocks are now your rocks, right? So um, it's going to be tough for other teams to want to set up hazards just with this guy. I will say there was like a little bit of negative for like a wheel pick specifically, maybe negative synergy where, if I have Gliscor and I'm setting up spikes and rocks and then I have Cinderace, I don't want to change to have now spikes and rocks on my side. But that does not mean that it's always going to be where I can't do either one. So I think overall just having Cinderace in general is something where people are like, don't really want to put up hazards. The speed tier, elite, right? That's the other thing. I already had a fantastic 135 speed tier in Chien-Pao. I wanted something kind of in between that 135 and 100s to kind of hit majority of the field, right? Just having another great Scarf user as well, because Chien-Pao I'm almost never going to want to run a Choice Scarf on and really wants that extra damage. So I feel like a lot of choice scarfs are going to be brought against me to try to outspeed and then kill Chien-Pao, right? Something that might resist a Sucker Punch and Ice Shard. Um, so having another great choice scarf user is fantastic as well. Another pivot, great stab fire move I feel like is really strong. And then with Libero, you're basically stabbing everything, right? Your U-turns, your high jump kicks, obviously Pyro Ball already. I know this thing gets Iron Head, right? So these are all great moves, and just an overall, I think, fantastic Pokemon. So another 30 picks later, we get back to the wheel. I did not go as defensive as I wanted. I was not expecting to take Cinderace here. I was planning on doing picks 2 and 3 very defensive, so I ended up doing that with picks 4 and 5 here, with the first one being Stinky Tinky Tinkaton. This Pokemon has really seen a whole bunch of popularity within the last year or so, and its speed tier, utility, and typing really just was undervalued. I feel like for the beginning of this Pokemon's life. Um, you're not really going to see a lot of attacking moves on this Pokemon, but a fast Encore, Knockoff, Stealth Rocks, this thing gets Taunt, Thunder Wave. There's more that I'm probably forgetting right now as well. It's Stab, Base 160, Gigaton, Hammer, Steel move. It's got mediocre attack at 75, but once you have a move that's base 160 with Stab, so 240 base power, it does not matter if you've got 75 attack, right? So that's going to be really nice for those fairy types, as well as those ice types. You'll see a lot of the times it'll be brought against that. Two good abilities in Mold Breaker and Pickpocket. You like to run like Air Balloon. Tinkaton's also a very common knockoff switch in, right? With that fairy typing, so it's really good to get. I wouldn't say it's good to get knocked off, but this is typically something that's okay with getting knocked off. So being able to steal an item is really cool. As well as just ignore other people's abilities. So typically you're going to see this thing pretty speedy, right? You're going to want to do a fast Encore on like a setup Pokemon that's like either trying to calm mind up. A lot of those users have less than this 94 speed, so being able to outspeed that, or they might invest in more physical bulk and less speed, and like the Latios's type deal. So excited to use this Pokemon for the first time. I think it's going to offer a lot of utility for the team. Next we got Big Man Blastoise. I didn't love the court change as much as I thought I would, and getting a Premier Spinner, Flip Turner, as well as that bulky water type on my team was something that I valued a lot. So this will make it so I don't need to bring court change if I'm like want a hazard stack. I mean, obviously having two forms of hazard removal is really good as well. Typically this thing is going to be that bulky pivot, right? You're going to come in, maybe clear some hazards, take a hit, flip turn out, get Chien-Pao in there, or Cinderace in there, or one of my other future offensive threats to really scare the opposing team. You'll see heavy duty boots, citrus berry often. And then every once in a while, you always got to respect the shell smash, right? Shell smash white herb. This thing has respectable stats, especially when they're at +2. And then the bulk in itself, right? Like you're going to be living a few hits for most things, unless it's like a super effective move. And even then, this thing can hit or withstand, both grass and electric moves from full health from most Pokemon. So this thing is just going to be that bulky. That bulky spinner that I wanted at the beginning, and I just got a little bit of worse one compared to Quackwavel, who I originally wanted at the 4-5 turn. But really happy and excited to use this Pokemon. All right, another 30 turns go by. I am noticing throughout my team I don't have really any special attacker, as well as anybody that I want to do a Terra Captain. So some of the Terra Captains started going. You saw Cloyster, Minior, the Kilowattra was gone. Those top tier Terra Captains. And there was one that I felt like was kind of undervalued. I mean, it was 10 points, but it was something where I thought its stats were really good. It was an Iron Pokemon, so that means that I can use a Quark Drive ability. So I ended up getting Iron Jugulis. I do apologize for the sprites. If anybody knows where to find better ones, like this one I couldn't even find a GIF of, please let me know in the comment section below. Love to find more of those. But anyways, back to the Terra Captain Iron Jugulis. This thing's got great special attack. It's got another really good speed tier, right? Where I have that 135, 119, and now 108, right? This is going to be, I've got 3 Pokemon to outspeed a very common speed tier of like 100 to 105. And then also, booster. Booster energy speed, very common. I could also go modest and kind of be like ignoring that 100 speed tier or going a little bit slower where I do still outspeed those 100s and getting that booster special attack. So that's the other thing that I liked about this Pokemon a lot. I used walking weight a good amount on a couple of Sun teams, and I always had to invest a lot less special attack that I wanted to make sure to get that booster speed. So I think I only have to like put in like 244 special attack or something like that to get that booster speed as long as I'm timid. So um, this thing's got coverage out the wazoo as well, right? I couldn't put more than 4 moves on here. This thing gets Earth Power, it gets Fire moves, it gets Focus Blast. I kind of want to pull up more of what this thing gets here real quick. You got Dragon Pulse, you got Flash Cannon, you got Hydro Pump, you got Meteor Beam. Be kind of crazy one of these times. But yeah, really great coverage. The couple of things that it didn't get coverage for, which is fairy type and something to deal or and poison type were some things that I really wanted to have with the Terra Blast option. I also think that both of those are really good defensive typings. Spoiler alert for the rest of my team, I don't have an offensive fairy. Tinkaton is it. So I wanted to make sure that I had another way to hit those dragon types, especially with both Kyurem and Bax being drafted. My stab ice moves from Chien-Pao were just going to be neutral against them. So the stab fairy was important to me, and then the stab poison to basically have the opposite resistances and super effective moves with my natural typing of dark and flying was really good, as well as being able to hit those fairies a little bit more too. So excited to use this Pokemon. I don't think I've ever seen this in a draft league before, or at least in our leagues. It was never able to Terra either. So I'm excited to use it. The one knock I will have is it doesn't really have a setup move other than Meteor Beam, or I'd have to use that booster energy. So, but yeah, let's go on to the next Pokemon. The other Terra Captain I wanted. A little bit more speed, believe it or not. My team is already so fast, but this Pokemon at 5 points, really complementing with the electric and grass typing. I'm always afraid of bulky waters. I don't know what it is. Maybe I put too much too much thought into it, but I really wanted a way to deal with those bulky waters. So Hisuian Electrode was it, right? Having the dual stab that will really hurt them helps a lot with some of those types that have like a resistance. Like Empoleon has steel to resist the grass, right? So now you really want to make sure you have an electric type. You've got a couple of water poison types like Tentacruel out there. So making sure that you got the electric type for there. Water ground types as well, and like Swampert, Quagsire. I don't think any of them were actually drafted, but anyways, making sure you had that stab grass was nice. This thing's super fast. It outspeeds Scarf 80 Pokemon with just its natural investment with Timid. That's cool. Or I could just run Modest basically every week and still outspeed. I think it goes up to like 118 speed tier. I'll have to double check on that again, but it's just got that elite speed tier. The Terra really helps out its pretty crappy offensive stat of 80 special attack. It's not the greatest, but that's okay. I don't need this thing to hit as hard. It's really there for speed control, those 2 offensive typings, and then with grass, fairy, and ground. The fairy again, I just wanted another fast thing, like to get over maybe like a +1 DD. So that Terra Fairy was going to be nice there. Typically, you can like bring in different types of like either steel or grass as well is another thing. So having the fairy for the grass types and having the ground for the steel types is pretty nice. Doesn't really get coverage moves. That's why Terra Blast is probably going to be pretty important. Has Thunder Wave and Taunt, Volt Switch, right? Every single one of my pivot every single one of my Pokemon except for Tinkaton at this point can pivot. So that's really nice for bringing in the Chien-Paos, stacking hazards with Gliscor, right? Really keeping the opponents on the toes. So I think for 5 points and for a secondary Terra Captain, really happy with this guy. Kind of rounding out the team here. We had 110 points left. I have 7 out of 10 Pokemon. I think at this point I spent 90 So I had 20 points left for 3 Pokemon. Needed a grounded poison. That was something that I really wanted. Steel types were something that I was a little bit worried about still. Nothing to hit normal types either. Um, I had a couple of dark types already for this next Pokemon who's quad weak to psychic, and just another bulky menace, somebody that I've been wanting to play basically since I saw him, and that is the good old Okidogi. This guy is a beast. He's got a whole bunch of different set versatility, which I think is my favorite thing about him, right? Being base 80, that's a good Scarfer, right? Like I said, Hisuian Electrode is really one of the only ones that can outpace it. This will get, a Scarf will outspeed Dragapult is another one, and I have knockoff for that. And this guy's got really good base attack at 128 and really good dual stab, right? The fairy types that you're going to want to be bringing in, well, nope, I got a poison move for that too. So this guy can be super bulky, great physical defender. Assault Vest also great on this guy because you've got Stab, Drain Punch to really remain healthy, and two really good abilities in Guard Dog and Toxic Chain, basically making those Intimidate Pokemon kind of afraid when you have an Okidogi, and really making sure that they don't get that +1 for free instead of that -1 you're looking for. And Toxic Chain can really battle some of those bulkier Pokemon as well. Just hitting a neutral knockoff and getting a free Toxic off of something is always really nice, right? Going to be great for those defensive pivots. So it has like okay coverage. It's not the greatest. I know this thing gets Psychic Fangs. It's probably a few other things too that I can't think of right now. Let's take a look. Um, you got Fire Punch, that's pretty bad. You do get high horsepower, that's pretty nice. Ice Punch, so you get those couple of punches. Gets a random Outrage, could be interesting. Um, but yeah, that's and Thunder Punch. So there you go. You got your 3 punches. So that'll be nice for like the quad weak guys. But otherwise, those punches are pretty weak in base power, and without stab, it's really tickling without compared to like just a neutral close combat or something like that. So yeah, excited to use this Pokemon. And then next, rounding out the team, basically I used the last 7 out of my 8 remaining points in Decidueye. So I wanted another, like I said, I'm afraid of these random pesky water types. So I wanted another grass type that can be both mixed as a physical and special attacker to kind of deal with those. It has really good priority. Okay speed tier, but again, the set versatility is something that I like about this, right? Like, it can be bulky, a bulky pivot if it needs to be. It has synthesis, one of the few Pokemon that actually is going to have longevity and healing on my team. And then 2 respectable, 107 base attack, 100 special attack. So I can go mixed. As great priority and Shadow Sneak. That's a pretty uncommon, ghost typing you don't see too often in draft leagues. You've kind of got the premier ones, and those ones typically don't have Shadow Sneak unless your name is Sarah Ledge, who I'm also pretty sure went undrafted in this league. So has a defog as well if I want to clear those hazards. So now I have 3 ways to remove hazards. My team was a little bit weak to rock, not terribly. Had a couple of flying types and then that ice type and a fire type. Not a whole bunch of resistances. I think just Okidogi actually resists it. So again, nice to just have that extra little bit of hazard control. And then also U-turn, which I did not put on here. Believe it or not, I have another pivot Pokemon, so I think that makes 7 out of the 9 currently that can pivot. So we'll see. I'm not entirely excited. I think I more picked this just because of its typing. I wanted a spin blocker if I needed it. The extra grass type for those, a lot of water types typically are special defense based. So having a physical grass type was something that was nice. But yeah, who knows? It's a cool Pokemon. The base stats are respectable. It doesn't really do anything particularly well, but it could kind of fill a role if I really needed to. I played Serena a couple seasons ago, and I think it kind of reminded me of that, where it's just like a little bit of a slower U-turner, can be offensive, can be a little defensive, and it both has that hazard control and similar typing. So yeah. All right, rounding off the team, our 1 point I really wish I could Terra this mon realistically, but our one pointer, I was the last pick in the league, and not a lot of people actually only had 1 point remaining. It was a lot of like 2 through 5s, which was a little surprising to me, especially with I felt like 110 points wasn't a whole bunch with the board. Um, I picked Thwacky. Look at this guy, Thwacky, a 1 pointer. That's that's disrespectful for this man. I'll be honest, I realistically picked this Pokemon for the Rain team. This thing with a Choice Band one-shots Palafin, and Palafan's Choice Band does not do much damage at all to this thing. It's kind of crazy. So, um, again, another way to deal with these bulky water types, but it didn't matter too much to me. It was more so like I think this is the best 1 point mon that's left. Haunter was also available. I think those were the two I was deciding between. But I thought Thwacky was probably just a little bit better. Another U-turner. You got nice knockoff, good priority in that Grassy Glide, and really strong stab move of Woodhammer. And this thing can hold an Eviolite, and it honestly has like okay stats for being a baby Pokemon or not fully evolved Pokemon. So um, I'm pretty excited about that. Will this thing come? Maybe. Probably not. But it is something that where it's just like, holy crap, I'm really having trouble and I really need this grass priority into this team. Or like I really want the longevity of like a grassy surge, which like really only Okidogi benefits from on my team. I have a couple of flying types that don't even get to use the grassy terrain. So yeah, it's just a 1 pointer. I'll probably stop talking about it now. But um, yeah, that is the team. In the Twinleaf Premier League Season 1, I am in the Empoleon division. There's actually a couple of other divisions. Oh, no. Sorry. I am in the Infernape division. There's also Empoleon and Torterra as well. And then I think they're doing a Wi-Fi for the Garchomp division. So I'm excited. It's been really well ran so far. Everything's been super smooth. My first matchup is actually going to be on Thursday, so a little bit early. I don't exactly know when I'm going to post all of the specific like weekly matchups. Probably Sunday is going to be the average, maybe Monday if we have like a Sunday night game. Um, but we'll see. I will be posting every single week. I'll be doing team builders as well, so I'll kind of explain my reasoning and showcase some of my what I'm bringing and why. But yeah, just a couple things to look forward to. So that'll be it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you did enjoy. I'm really excited to play this season, and I'm excited to make this content. I think it'll be fun. So we'll see you guys next time.